And we'll quickly share it. We'll share it like Tom Skerritt, who I think is no longer with us. Pretty underrated actor, as far as I'm concerned. MASH, Steel Magnolias, several others. All right, I'm all shared now.
I'm working on it here.
Today I'm gonna set an alarm, so there's gonna be an audible alarm like at 2:15.
Don't worry. I have a clock here.
Okay, but you might get carried away.
Don't worry. It's not likely to happen.
You might get carried away like the people in Maricopa County and just start strapping a gat. Honestly, how many times have you just gone to a polling place and just with an AR-15 and just started hanging out? I know I've done it like a lot.
Did you know that the majority of the votes in Arizona are in Maricopa County? I've never heard that before. Have you?
You mean that's the largest city and area in the entire state?
Is it?
I had no idea.
Yeah, it is. That's what I heard.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah. The huge majority, and a lot of people say if you get most of the votes there, you win the state. I never heard that before.
Did you know that most people in Alaska live in Anchorage? It's like 60% of the population of the entire state.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a nutty thing, man.
Right. Okay, we're good. It is the Brad and Britt cast, our final one for this week. Thank you for joining us. And America is torn in half. We don't agree on so many things. We're just torn apart. But can we agree on just one thing? It's time for Wolf Blitzer to go.
Yeah.
Please make it stop. Please.
What was peak Wolf Blitzer? Wouldn't you say the first Gulf War when he was hiding under the desk with those guys? Wouldn't you say that was like he could have just left at that point and everything would have been just fine?
It's not that. And everybody has their day. His day is past.
It's just weird.
And it's he's Captain Obvious every 2 seconds, and that's enough. Let's talk about something important.
Don't you love I do love that. It's breaking news now. Apparently, Donald Trump with a slight lead in Arkansas. Yeah. Wait, hang on, Arkansas? I had no idea that Donald Trump.
It's dreadful. It's really, really dreadful. It's really,
and nobody can ever get rid of him.
He must be the Donald Trump of that organization because apparently no one can stop him. No one can say stop and all those things. So anyhow,
can we just get him over to Fox so he can harass a woman real quickly? They pay off the lawsuit and he leaves. Can we just do that? Is it hard? Am I the one who has to think of all the ideas?
That's a thought. All right. Trump, if anything, has been transparent in his dishonesty. He's been transparent in his undermining everything about this country that a lot of us love. He doesn't care. We know it's all about him. We don't have to go through all the things. And it's predictable and sad that this is how it's ending, with the worst and most flagrant attempt to undermine 230 years of the United States in one fell swoop by trying to steal an election that he hasn't officially lost yet. All right. Okay. So this is preemptive theft of something that he hasn't lost yet, but appears he is about to lose. And all this protesting and all the groups gathering around voting counting sites in Michigan and in Arizona and in Georgia, that is part of the plan. They want violence. They want riots.
Yeah.
They absolutely, positively want that because that's the pretext for we have to stop these people from counting these illegal votes. Something's going on. Nobody knows what it is, but we got to get to the bottom of it. This is chaos all the way. That's the plan. That's what it's all about. And clearly he's losing, or he wouldn't be doing these things. These are not the moves of a winner. These are not the plans of someone who is thinking about his second term. This is someone trying to stay in power at all costs, including the cost of the United States' image of itself, our image around the world. I read a piece, Britt, from New Zealand today, and I'm not going to read it, but I can tell you that they nail every bit of nuance about this country better than you can, better than I can. They know everything about us. They know everything about Donald Trump. They know every bit of our history that is being turned upside down and thrown into a trash can by this would-be tin pot dictator autocrat. The world is seeing it. He has destroyed our reputation. It's already too late.
Allow me to play the part of a MAGA person. Fuck you, New Zealand, until you can keep your koalas from getting chlamydia. Fuck you. We're perfectly fine over here. Greatest in the world. Woohoo! Number one.
Right. That's as good an answer as I would expect from a MAGA person.
Yeah, it is sad how the entire. And I was just trying to show this tweet on the screen for people who are listening. It's not going to be helpful, but this one was from 9/12 this morning, and it said simply "stop the count," all caps, exclamation point. Which, of course, if you stop the count right now, Brad, what does that do? I believe that would hand the election to Joe Biden. If you stop the count everywhere, I believe Joe Biden would automatically be our 46th president. But that's just me.
Right, because he would have Arizona.
That's right. He would have the votes needed.
And he would have Nevada.
Yeah.
And if he gets Arizona and Nevada, he wins. And it doesn't matter what happens in Pennsylvania and in Georgia. But only the mind of Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and whoever else is plotting this shit out would think that they could say, stop the vote where we're ahead, continue the vote
where we're behind.
But
they can match up. You've seen the videos.
And we're going to go to court to enforce that because we're being consistent.
The videos on social media where they're screaming in Wayne County up in Detroit to stop the vote, but yet in Maricopa County, they put them side by side where count the vote. And it's the same Trump supporters, and you can put those videos side by side, and everybody can see this stuff now. You can see exactly what's going on. You're not fooling anybody. Your playbook is old as shit, and you're going to leave office, and you're probably going to go to jail. This thing is looking like it looks like it's going to be headed toward the Democrats. The reason that you didn't do so well in mail-in voting is because you told your constituents mail-in voting is a fraud, don't do it. So therefore, when the mail-in voting is counted, it's heavily toward Democrats. Because you told your people not to do it, and you told them it was fraudulent, it was rigged. So over and over and over again, you set up your own failure, and now all you're left with is just trying to scream, and these lawsuits are getting smacked down one by one by one. You got nothing at this point.
You see, the way that the election day went was completely the opposite of what people thought. People thought they were going to be armed idiots. And that didn't happen.
No.
And instead of saying to America on Twitter, way to go, we did it peacefully, he was never going to do that because that was never the plan. The plan was to disrupt. The plan is to turn everything upside down and have us tearing each other apart even more. I thought that Joe Biden on Wednesday afternoon, when he got out there and spoke for about 10 minutes and reiterated a lot of the precepts of his campaign that apparently have garnered him, sadly, only at least 3 million extra popular votes. It's probably going to be a lot higher by the time that's over. because
More
of course,
votes than anyone has ever gotten, and it probably is going to be. It might be a higher margin than Hillary by the time we get done.
Right, which of course means nothing, as you know.
Nothing, zero. Although I want to shove the term duly elected president down everybody's throat for the next 4 years. I do want to say that as much as I possibly can, because I had to sit through it for 4 years every single freaking day.
Well, see, but there's a difference here, because if Joe Biden is elected by the Electoral College and he has a popular vote majority, you don't have to try to justify it by using the phrase duly elected president.
That's
only
fair.
Someone for whom you would question their legitimacy, which in our system, even though we know we use the Electoral College, that's the only thing that matters, but it does matter what your popular vote total is. It confers legitimacy. It confers the ability to get things done in the Congress, because they know that if a lot more people feel this way on certain subjects, including who they were voting for during the presidential election, which is sometimes expressed through the Congress, then it's a big deal. But there's no way to sugarcoat the fact that the Democrats overall underperformed across the country. They lost several seats in the House, and the ones that they did get elected, I mean, they got a lot of hard lefties elected all over the country, some really interesting people with interesting resumes, the kind of people that Donald Trump and MAGA people, for the most part, hate. Transgender people, gay people, black gay people. That's part of the Democratic coalition now. I mean, that's what happened. The Democrats did get more progressive, in the number of seats that they have. That is actually a smaller number than it was the last time out. So the conventional wisdom is that Nancy Pelosi is going to have her hands full even if she is the Speaker of the House, even if she gets that gig, because now it's already, it's time to pass the torch to a for that's starting. Now, I understand that, and she's being second guessed for not going along,
as she has her entire career. Well, and she's overcome all of it the entire time.
I understand that, but you overcome everything until you don't overcome everything. There's an end point for everything. Ask Wolf Blitzer. Okay.
Well, his end point hasn't come yet. If it could hurry,
everybody has everybody has an expiration date. I understand that in Congress that's 107. Until anything under 107, you get to keep your job.
God apparently is putting an endpoint on Rush Limbaugh's period of time there. So that may be the deal there. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I think there's a number of people that are kind of deluding themselves into thinking that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to be the next Speaker of the House.
It isn't either Nancy Lopez. It isn't even Nancy Lopez. It isn't.
Or as I call her, Mrs. Ray Knight, because that's what she is to me.
How long have they been divorced?
Long time. Like
is Ray Knight dead?
I don't think so, but he should be.
It isn't either Nancy Pelosi or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There is something in between that, I can guarantee you.
I think there is something in between that. Again, it's not going to hurt my feelings if she goes away, but she's been able to beat back the critics for a long time. And honestly, I'm very grateful for the ass kicking that she's given Donald Trump since she retook the speakership position. Holy cow. Every negotiation, she destroys that guy.
I understand, but you know what? None of that matters now. It's what's ahead? What can she accomplish? What kind of credibility is she going to have going forward? I mean, it's a tough call. It may be time for. I stand
by my prediction that he's going to punish. That Donald Trump will punish America by digging in his heels with absolutely no more stimulus. I believe he's going to be so pissed off about losing this election. He's going to the American people can go fuck themselves. And Mitch McConnell's got to figure out if he wants to make a stimulus package go forward, and then make Donald Trump, I don't know, veto it or whatever. But I think Donald Trump is going to be so petty and so vindictive and so vile that there's no possible way he's even going to think about any sort more stimulus money. Do you agree with that?
I can't argue against it based on the spite factor, based on the bitterness factor, based on the revenge factor. To add on to that, we certainly wouldn't put it past Donald Trump to be so self-absorbed over the next few months as a lame duck president, if he loses here, that he wants to hand off to Joe Biden the most difficult economic circumstances that he possibly can.
That's correct.
And that would entail letting more restaurants go out of business, having a lot more people get kicked out of their homes and apartments because they haven't gotten any checks from the government, since April or May. The people are really, really hurting. But Donald Trump doesn't care about that because this is all about exacting revenge. So I cannot argue against your thesis, not in the least. It's one of those, okay, prove us wrong, Don.
Prove us wrong. No, he's going to be completely vile and awful. And I think the pardons are going to be like, it's not only going to be pardoned, it's going to be, let's open up the treasure troves. Go ahead and pay Don Jr. or pay Ivanka or pay Jared or pay somebody if you want to get your loved one out of prison. If you want to pardon, the bidding starts at $180,000. That's your minimum, and then we'll take it from there. I think all of that shit's going to happen. But yeah, I feel very confident that the votes are there for Joe Biden to be the next president. I think he's going to end up winning Arizona. I think he's going to win Pennsylvania by maybe six figures. I think it may be 100,000 votes. Yeah,
Really?
By what I'm reading and everything that's coming in, it may be like around 100,000 votes, somewhere in that area, that he's going to win Pennsylvania. Nevada, I think, seems okay. Georgia is always a coin flip. The more interesting story out of Georgia is it does look like that Senate race with Purdue and Ossoff is headed toward a runoff.
He didn't get 50?
I don't think he got to
Purdue
50.
Didn't get the 50%, 5-0.
That's what they're looking at right now. The Ossoff campaign looks like they're going to be trying to make sure that they get a recount and get that runoff. So, yeah, it's going to be – that's the more interesting story. So, yeah, I think Joe Biden is going to be – I think I saw that Joe Biden is in line to get the exact number of electoral votes that Donald Trump got in 2016. It's going to be like 306 to 223 or something, whatever it turns out to be, 538. It's going to be like –
that's if everything falls.
If everything falls like the way it's looking right now. North Carolina, I've lost hope on. North Carolina, as I've known now for 50 years, will break your heart almost every single time. But thank God Roy Cooper was reelected, because Roy Cooper legitimately saved lives in this state and continues to save lives despite people kicking and screaming against his efforts for them to save their lives. So I'm happy about that. Cal Cunningham, I'm not sure if keeping his zipper closed would have helped or not. I think it probably would have been pretty good, but it is what it is. I'll take – I wanted two of the three things to happen. I got one of the three, and Roy Cooper being the governor in this state is going to be a good thing for the people of North Carolina. That's all you can do.
Yeah. What we're seeing right now, though, with the threats and the lawsuits and all the rigmarole and the confusion and the back and forth that Trump and his extremely sharp and experienced campaign legal team of I turned on the TV yesterday afternoon. It's Eric Trump holding a press conference. Eric Trump, and standing right behind him is Giuliani. So are we to believe that Trump can't even get decent election expert kind of lawyers, that he's still going to be using this group of ragtag losers to argue his cases on this?
What kind of sycophantic, spotlight seeking lawyers would be left to work for this guy? I mean, this is the worst. The great cliche and stereotype about lawyers is they're ambulance chasers. These would have to be like the all-stars of the ambulance chasers to try to make a name for themselves at this point over this guy who seems like a complete loser, and he's crying over the situation. You would have to be like truly drinking the Kool-Aid and wanting to make a name for yourself and be a Fox News darling in order to step out and try to defend the guy at this point. Yeah, Giuliani sounds about right. Giuliani, the disgraced, awful Rudolph Giuliani. Yeah, that sounds about like his speed at this point.
Did you see the piece about how when Trump was having his little election party on Tuesday night, and fairly early in the evening, Fox News called Arizona singularly for Joe Biden. Trump picked up the phone and called Rupert Murdoch.
How does he have his number?
Hang on, and started screaming at him over it. And apparently, Rupert Murdoch, 89 years old, told Donald to stick it, shove it, because this would be how Trump TV would run.
Right.
Trump wanted Rupert Murdoch to get on his hotline, call them up and tell them to retract the prediction. And even Rupert Murdoch is smart enough. He's a smart guy, but Rupert Murdoch knows if he did that would effectively end even the highly questionable quote unquote journalistic ethics of Fox News, because all you've been hearing leading up to this is, well, their decision desk is completely independent of the talk jockeys at night, and they are as good as everybody else. And if Trump goes on to lose Arizona and Fox News picked it early, they are the Trafalgar group of the TV network prediction game. The Trafalgar group, the guys who picked Trump 4 years ago and picked him again this time. Hopefully they'll be wrong this time.
That's right.
But they're the outliers. And
unfortunately, in 2000, when the Bush campaign got some bad news about Florida, they were able to call the control room at Fox because there was a guy named John Ellis who worked there, who was a cousin of the Bushes. In fact, Jeb Bush's name is John Ellis Bush, and they were able to actually get through and make that happen. But in this case, Rupert Murdoch, who has the money that Donald Trump wishes that he had, can tell he's got fuck you money. Rupert Murdoch does have fuck you money. Donald Trump does not. He pretends to, and Donald Trump has fuck you debt, but he doesn't have fuck you money. So Rupert Murdoch was able to tell him to go pound salt, as he should have, and go away, and you lost, and I don't like you anyway. And I'm kind of hoping that you lose and get the fuck out of America. That would be a nice thing right now for you to do. So yes, everybody, if Donald Trump does have a passport, we should go ahead and try to seize that, because at this point, we have no idea if he's going to try to flee the country. And you mentioned his little inbred children, especially Eric and Don Jr. and Yvonne. We need to go ahead and grab those passports, because at this point, the rats are going to be leaving the ship pretty quickly. It will be very much like the scene in the Titanic when they're trying to, the band is playing How Great Thou Art or whatever they were playing, and people are just trying to get on the life raft at this point. So yeah, I think that's a great story. I knew that they were furious about that Arizona call. I think what you just said is wishful thinking.
I know, right?
And here's why. Because even if Trump loses, he's never going to acknowledge that he lost the election. He's going to blame it was stolen from him. They cheated. Dead people were voting. There was already a lawsuit over that, saying that the dead people and dogs were voting.
Dead people and dead dogs, by the way, dead dogs, not even live dogs.
Because the one thing that Donald Trump doesn't accept is responsibility for things that go wrong in his life. So he will not accept responsibility for this loss. And not only will he not go away, I wish in a better world that Twitter would immediately block him forever the day he leaves office. That would be wonderful. And they can block anybody, can't they? They have rules. They have rules against the president. They have a special rule, right? And that's why they've never actually banned him.
Right. They're hiding some of his tweets because of misinformation. But after a while, if he violates the terms of service, like he threatened somebody or something like that, they could punt him off of there. Yeah. And I think the Republicans had better hope that he does go to jail, because if that is the narrative that he's going to peddle, that I was never legitimately defeated, then you can just start the Trump 2024 rumors right now. Okay, he was never defeated, so we got to run him again. He's the real champion. He has the belt.
Do you think he would run at 78?
I do think he would. I don't think anybody would tell him no. Nobody's told him no his entire life. Why would they tell him no now?
All right, so you bring it up, and let's game this out. Assuming that Joe Biden is the president and he is blocked at every turn for 4 years by Mitch McConnell. He can't get any judges through. He can't get the kind of legislation he wants through. There will be no changing of the tax code. Nothing will change, which is the explanation as to why the financial markets have been so hot this week. They really like the idea that everything would be frozen in time and nothing can get better, but nothing can get worse.
Well, look, the Wall Street loves the idea of the American people getting the shit kicked out of them.
Right.
Let's be honest. That's what's happening right now. That's the deal.
No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But if Trump immediately on January 21st, just like he did January 21st 4 years ago, applied to run for re-election in 2020. Remember that? The day he was inaugurated was the day he filled out the paperwork he was running 4 years later. If he puts out that signal right away, doesn't that freeze the entire Republican Party? Because wannabes like Tom Cotton or Mike Pence,
Marco Rubio, or Ted Cruz, or
you just go down. Go down the list of suspects from 2016 that he beat. If Trump announces, and he doesn't have to say, he can go, well, I might. I'll let you know in 2 weeks.
That's exactly right.
He can do that bullshit for forever. Because Trump's cult is so loyal to him, it's as if they were running against a sitting president while he's president and think they can oust him in a parliamentary fashion and finish out his term. You are being disloyal to Donald Trump by even hinting that you would want the nomination over him because he is the greatest leader in the history of our country, our favorite president, all that stuff. So he freezes the field.
He does.
If he does that.
They deserve it. They deserve all of that. It's either him or it's going to be they've set up Ivanka to run. And I know that sounds hilarious, but from what you've seen over the past 4 years, can you dispute any of that? I mean, they made her out to be, they've tried to put her in a PR position to where she looks, brilliant and very studied. And, she's like her dad, but she's much more mature. And this is the first female president. She said this would be a great bookend to the Hillary story. Hillary was so awful and brash and liberal and socialist.
The word is shrill.
Yes, exactly. But here's Ivanka, a much nicer tone. Of course, she's, so much better looking than Hillary. Hillary was just an ugly old hag. Don't you want, this should be your first female president, ladies and gentlemen. America, this is what you want. See, this is the Trump virus that's going to continue throughout because the Republican Party kissed his ass for all of these years. And they're just going to have to deal with the fact that, yes, the Trump family will suck all of the oxygen out of the room when you're talking about people who have actually dedicated themselves to public policy, like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and Mike Pence and whoever else you want to throw in there, that Tom Cotton or Ben Sass, who isn't a bad guy overall.
I think you just gave that whole group way too much credit for, quote, being devoted to public policy.
Okay, fair enough.
How about being devoted to a severe right-wing anti-democratic agenda that restricts the rights of people in so many different ways, including, but not exclusively, the right to vote among groups that would threaten their ability to rule as a white minority party in this country as long as possible. But
I may have overspoken. Yeah, but at least these people would be serious politicians versus Donald Trump. And they can't even get anything started. They can't even get the kindling going on that because everybody's going to be focused on Donald Trump, and that'll be the interesting thing about Fox News. If Fox News becomes like, all right, we have to really try to help the Republican Party out, they would have to ignore a lot of this noise from the Trump camp. But it's like candy; they can't stop themselves from reaching for it. They won't be able to.
Would Donald Trump slide back into being like Harry and Meghan, okay, just kind of a gossip curiosity,
right?
Who is not to be taken seriously, but you can't get away from news about them.
It's true,
because if you've watched, and you have, the last couple months, where the story about Hunter Biden and the manufactured scandal was investigated and then ignored and given zero prominence by everyone but Fox News, everyone but the right-wing websites. It's possible that we could ignore Donald Trump. We could ignore him. He will. the idea that because he's president, no matter what he's said or what he's tweeted, God damn, we got to talk. You know, we've gone through this ourselves here, where we start to talk about something that he did, and then I always go, "Fuck, why are we talking about this?" But he's the president, so if he says it, it can move markets, it can change the politics of the world, it can start wars, so it gets discussed. Once he's not president anymore, he moves back down into a level of irrelevancy that no matter how much he talks, it may not matter as much. It certainly doesn't matter as much.
To an extent, but
he's a has-been.
But it's like a virus too. There are certain things that like former presidents are invited to, or at least expected to show up for. So it's always going to be like, well, he wasn't invited to this. Well, he didn't show up for that. Well, there was this few. And then when he dies, eventually it's like, well, who's going to show up? Which of the former presidents are going to show up for? I mean, all of that stuff always goes in perpetuity with these presidents, right?
I understand that at one level, yeah, we'll never be rid of him. We're not going to be able to get away from him. but it will never be at the intensity.
No, not
had
now.
To live through the last 4 years. It's just not going to be the same.
But if he starts his own news network, which is what I thought was going to happen 4 years ago, but he fucked up and won. You know, if he ends up taking over the One America News Network or starting, something else, he'll have a voice out there, and then but again, you're right. It's not going to be with the intensity or with the depth or with the impact of what he's doing now. There's no question about it. When you're the most powerful man in the world and you swerve from lane to lane every day and change your mind 4 times in a minute. Yeah. I mean, it's never going to be quite like that.
Plus, he's a loser.
Yeah. But that's the narrative. The narrative is no, he's not. It was stolen from him. He's the rightful president.
But everybody knows, no matter what he says.
Exactly.
He lost.
Doesn't this? You remember the sore loserman signs from 2000?
Yeah.
Doesn't this makes those guys look like? I mean, and they kept their heads held high the entire time. And Al Gore, when the corrupt decision from the Supreme Court came down, he very magnanimously and very statesmanlike said, "I'm out. I'm going. I don't agree with it, but for the good of this country, I have to move on." And now you're seeing what a true sore loser looks like. You're seeing what this guy in real time.
Yeah, I mean, you can't discuss these two incidents on the same page because
exactly.
Donald Trump is behaving the way. Well, no one would ever behave this way if they had any regard for the country. No. If they had any regard for the system of government that we have, that we used to think kind of made us a little bit different, maybe a little bit better, American exceptionalism and all those things. Instead, he is dragging everyone down to a level of division and acrimony and hate and balkanization that is going to last beyond our lifetimes. We're not putting the country back together so fast. It's not going to be easy. And Joe Biden, if he's the president, is not going to be able to just make a few speeches and we're all going to get on the same page and he's going to be our generation's FDR and he's going to lead the country on to better things through hard times, because they're not going to let him.
No.
Even if he could, they won't let him. Because now the most important thing is to own the libs, beat the other guy, and screw the country. We don't care. It's about maintaining political power. And because the character of the country in terms of its race and ethnicity is changing and getting browner and blacker and less white over time, even though in this election, I believe 62% of the voters were white. Okay, don't worry, it's not going anywhere yet, kids. They haven't taken over yet. They haven't taken over our country yet.
Well, you can't get away from the fact that more people voted for him this time than last time. I mean, they had a taste of the bullshit that's right. That's extremely disturbing. Right. And if anybody thinks that it means that we don't have a lot of work to do in this country, we have a lot of work to do in this country. For when it comes to just rampant racism and all of this horse shit. But yeah, for him to get more vote, for him to get 4 years of what he's done And it really and truly, without COVID-19 killing the number of people, him absolutely blowing the response on a daily basis, he probably would have been reelected. If the economy was where it was back in March when all of this started, I don't think Joe Biden wins election.
Right. No, I don't even think that's a discussion. I think you're right.
So it's awful.
Because again, Trump is not a very good liar, even though he's the biggest liar. He's a bad liar. But that doesn't mean that there aren't lots of people who believe all of his lies. But I consider him to be a bad liar. But the one thing that he said, which was true, was that if I had the economy that we had back in January,
sure,
I would have been easily reelected. And based on what just happened this week, he's obviously right, because these margins are so thin that if the coronavirus wasn't there, even though it turned out not to be the number one or number two issue for a lot of voters, certainly his voters, it was probably down at number 5 or number 6 at best, right?
Yes, exactly.
For the average Trump voter, the 5 most important things were getting the Big Ten to play football again, making sure that Hardee's is open.
That's exactly right. Not wearing a mask anywhere.
Right. No mask mandates, please.
A national unmask mandate is what Donald Trump wanted.
No damn socialism and all those things.
That would have been the camp. And it's just sad that 230,000 people had to die just for him to lose the Electoral College. And I would hope that Joe Biden would at least approach the subject. Maybe it's time that we just did a popular vote. Maybe we should just get rid of this Electoral College.
He doesn't have the ability to do that.
At least start the discussion. He can start with his friend Mitch McConnell and just start the discussion.
Britt, Mitch McConnell would never, ever, not once. Republicans want the Electoral College.
Well, because
it's the only way they can keep winning elections.
Since 1988, the Republican has only won twice in the popular vote, only twice, and those guys were both Bushes, and one of them's dead.
Right.
So yes,
they've managed to slide in several presidents who've lost the popular vote, so they're not going to give it up. So no, believe me, Britt, make a list of things Joe Biden can bring up. That will be number 10,500.
Could we possibly get rid of the Electoral College?
No,
please?
The answer is yes, we should, and no, we won't.
No, we can't. It's never.
No, we can't. It's not going to happen.
We do it that way because we've always done it that way. It's going to continue ad nauseum, and it's going to be the stupidest thing.
Because Republicans who run a white minority government enterprise that suppresses the vote, gerrymanders the districts, and installs judges that will make decisions that will enforce all of that illegality to suppress the vote, they do not want things to change. So they're not going to change.
We just need a Democrat to win the Electoral College but lose the popular vote, and then that's what would make it go away. That would be it would be gone by the next day if that happened.
But that doesn't happen because you can see what's happening right now. Joe Biden is going to probably get an Electoral College victory, and it will be accompanied by a very healthy popular vote majority.
That's right.
Because contrary to what Republicans and conservatives believe, people who live in California, Illinois, and New York are citizens of the United States. And even though their votes in the presidential election don't count for shit, that's a legal term, by the way. Don't count for shit.
How do you say it in Latin?
Yeah. It's not going to change. It's an academic exercise to talk about that right now. There are way too many other things that have to be addressed, including the fact that since we crossed over the Anthony Fauci predicted back in April that we would have 100,000 new cases a day, we crossed that barrier on Wednesday. This has spun out of control. There are over 50,000 people in intensive care units across the country. And they're strapped. Have you seen the latest map of the states with the highest percentage?
The last I saw, the Dakotas were wide open.
It's the Dakotas.
Yeah.
It's Wyoming. It's down to Missouri.
Right.
It's in other words, of the 15 most infected states right now. Of course, 13 of them are Trump states,
Jesus.
as usual, as always. Now, back when the virus was more contained to New York and the West Coast, then Trump, of course, said, don't worry about it. It's just attacking the blue states.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't matter what he said because the election is over and he doesn't give a fuck.
That's exactly right.
And the fact is, he almost, it looks like, lied his way back into office by holding these rallies.
He tried.
That accomplished what he wanted. It came real close. I hope that, by the time we get back here on Monday, we're not talking about a second term for Trump. But
good Lord,
again, you can't be sure.
No,
nope. Can't be sure. All right, I got to run. I got to be somewhere right now.
Okay? All right, guys. Back on Monday. Enjoy your weekend.